what a concept. I didn't know about that. So anyway, so now it's done. So people can see my book.
As we talk about often, Barry, we're so close to what's going on in our own, everybody in their personal life. It's nice to have somebody like you or I or our friends to stand over there going,
yep.
Have you ever thought about? And I'm like, oh, it makes so much sense. It was so basic. Isn't that kind of the foundation of our coaching too, right?
Being the neutral observer can sometimes be a major gift that they can bring to someone's life. We can see things they don't look at because, again, they are so close to it. So absolutely. Yeah.
I have a cute cartoon where this dog is like this. It's up against the next step. And if you just like lift up your head, like, oh, it's not a wall. It's just a step.
Yep.
Which could kind of play into the title today, because we're going to talk about small betrayals that add up. And often what happens is if we have felt betrayed, we can carry that around for a really long time. We can pour it onto other people. We can assume other people are doing it. Or maybe, at least we could ponder that we've maybe betrayed somebody. And how do we forgive ourselves and get forgiveness from them? I think this could be a very multifaceted subject, as always.
Indeed, it can be.
So Barry and I would like to welcome you to the newsstreamingnetwork.com, WGSN-DB Going Solo Network, radio, TV, podcast, #1 internet singles talk network. And this is Let's Talk Dating with Christine and Barry. Hi, Barry. I'm just getting my words out today.
Hi, Christine. Glad we're on track.
Yep, now we're on track.
Yes.
So betrayal, I looked it up, and it means that somebody went against you, that you thought that it was going in this direction. You thought you were friends. You thought you were moving in a direction with a relationship or a deal, and they switched it all of a sudden and went in a completely different direction. That was one of the definitions that really landed for me, that your expectations were that you were going this way and they just completely went the other way. And it could be that you didn't keep a promise, you didn't keep your vows, you didn't keep your word, which is what we talked about. I thought this has really been a trend of how we're talking about these different ways around all our internal strife and upsets and storms that can happen to us. And they just can cause such havoc in all of our life when we don't deal with it.
It's so insidious, frankly. I mean, just to recap a couple of things we talked about before, because you mentioned trust in there, I want to start with that, which is really, it's a building block, and it's so simple, is that one of those betrayals is that we violate agreements. And in relationship, whether it's business, romantic, family, any relationship, the trust that we build with each other based upon us keeping our word, being honest, keeping our agreements, being basically somebody who says, I'll do this, and they show up and you do that. So the thing is, in agreement keeping, because it's a building block, it's a very simple thing, but we don't give it due justice or due diligence. So if you're somebody who's had a challenge with this, my encouragement to you, and this is something I learned, say, in a seminar 40 years ago, it's been a long time, damn. But basically the key thing is with agreement keeping, let me back it this way. When you keep your agreements, you start to trust yourself. And when you keep agreements, other people will trust you too, which is part of what avoids the betrayal. So that's why I'm tying it in. So there's 4 or 5, I always remember the exact number of keys to keeping agreements. First of all is you want to be aware of the agreements you make, because we have a bad habit of defaulting by saying yes to things we didn't even think we were saying yes to. And that becomes a whole trap in itself. So be consciously aware of the agreements you keep with yourself or others. Like if you New Year's resolutions, 1st January, like we're going to go to the gym every day for the next the rest of my life, and you fail after 2 weeks, that a resolution is agreements, and especially with ourselves, because the other thing about agreements is no matter who we're making them with, we're always making with ourselves first. So when you keep agreements, first of all, be aware of them. The second thing is when you make second part of that is if you want to be aware of agreements, write them down somewhere. If you promise to do something for somebody else, or you promised yourself to do something, put it somewhere you'll remember, maybe in your notes app of your phone, or your reminders, or on your calendar, or wherever you do keep your notes. So remind yourself, oh, I said I'd do this, I better do that. Second one is, if you are making agreements, keep them. Don't treat them as flippant. Don't treat them as casual. If you say you can do something, do it. Follow through. That's part of it too. The third one is, and this is the challenge for a lot of people, is to make less of them. The challenge is we say yes oftentimes. If you were a people pleaser growing up, no, yes, I got my hand up for that one. We may have said yes to too many things. You do too. Yeah, right. Many of us are people pleasers. So when we say yes to too many things, there's going to be situations where we've double booked ourselves. And so one of those agreements is going to be violated. And if you're a people pleaser, you're going to be so caught up in the self-recrimination trap because like, oh, I didn't do what I said to do. Well, you couldn't because you couldn't be in two places at once. So make less agreements so you can be more spacious in your choices so you can actually do it more easily. The other one is, and it's maybe the most challenging one, is if you realize you're having a challenge, renegotiate. Because you may have made an agreement 3 months from now and you realize 2 months in, you can't do that because of whatever changed your life, circumstances changed. Reach out and renegotiate. Now, renegotiate ahead of time, not renegotiate a minute before it's supposed to happen. But if you do those simple things, you'll find, one, that you keep better agreements, and two, you'll start being able to trust yourself and other people can trust you too. So that's a building block for the whole thing. So that's just laying the groundwork for where we're going to go today.
I just love that a lot. And I'm going to add just one piece that
Please.
When you've now come up with an agreement and you've agreed with yourself and you've written it down, that you share the written word with the other person to make sure their words are exactly your words of what you're agreeing with. Mm-hmm. Because as we've talked about so many times, there's such a big opportunity to misunderstand and miscommunicate, period, in the world, because we're all pretty distracted by everything that's going on in our lives. And as Barry and I will tell you lots, men and women just talk differently and listen differently and remember differently. So if you realize, yes, that's what it is, then you need to make sure that you're both agreeing to the very same thing down to the smallest minutia. This is going to be done at this time and it's going to take about this amount of time. Because what's the best news about that is if the other person goes, oh yeah, no, but they can say, oh yeah, no, right now when they're looking at it, where if they're understanding one thing and you're understanding another, and they in all good faith say yes to what their understanding is, then all havoc can just come apart at the seams because you really didn't confirm that you're agreeing to the very, very same thing.
Yeah.
Because just simply had that happen once or twice.
Yeah, well, yeah, same. But even simple things like, that you're going to meet at 11 o'clock on Tuesday. Well, is that going to be in person? Is that going to be on the phone? Is that going to be over Zoom? It sounds simplistic, but reality is you want to make sure you commit to the other person what you're going to do. So oh, we're going to shop at this coffee shop at 11 o'clock. Great. And it sounds simplistic, but it really is such a building block that makes things so much easier. And the other part too is, because it's about keeping agreements, is when we violate those agreements or we don't keep those agreements or we ignore the agreements, that's when we feel that that's when the other person is going to feel we betrayed them, and worse, vice versa too. So it's not the end of the world. Again, if you renegotiate, if you decide ahead of time you can't do it, and like you said, yeah, no, and you choose not to do something, because that cleans things up. Because the other part, actually, I missed one. There was another one I forgot to mention, is when you're offered agreements, be willing to say no. Because one of the challenges, again, people pleasing, we say yes to everything. And if you're willing to say no at the time of making the decision, then there's no betrayal, because you simply said, that's not going to work for me and I won't do that. And then when you get to that point in time, there's no violation. It sounds, so simple, but we don't do that normally.
And the other part, I keep hearing people say, well, it's so obvious, or I assumed. And all I say is just verify and clarify. Yep. You could be that both people go, oh yeah, I got that. Same thing. Okay. At least make sure. Oh my gosh, the hot water I have gotten in and avoided I get in hot water when I don't do that, and I avoid it by doing that. And it's been amazing because so often people just go, oh yeah, I got that. And I'm glad that I asked them. But I will tell you, the times when we really weren't on the same page, it would have been bad. It would have been bad.
Yeah.
Are we meeting on Zoom? Or are we meeting in person? Boy, I've only done it once, but I was too far away to be there. I walked on my way there. It was awful. I felt so frustrated for both of us. So don't assume. Don't just think it's obvious. Oh, everybody knows that. Boy, have I heard that a lot. And it's not the truth. But make sure, maybe this other person does know that, but you really need to make sure, because it's one of these things that will just keep chipping away at possible happiness, possible good foundation for a relationship, possible losing complete trust with the other person, depending on how big or small they feel, real or not, this betrayal was, that you didn't do the thing or you did something you said you wouldn't. Because often, really, it's because you weren't clear. Sometimes that really happens. It's not that you were just being dishonest and you weren't being careful. It's just you didn't understand. And so, oops. But it's so much easier to address it ahead of time than have to go back and apologize and rework. And it's so much energy and time to do it the other way. Ugh.
Yeah, the thing I was going to say is that the title says small betrayals that add up, is that it is not usually one and done. That is chipping away, as you said. Because my moments, the thing is, there are big ones, like if you got, red flags in your relationships where basically, like, being monogamous is a requirement. Somebody cheats on you. That's a betrayal that's on a bigger scale than just not keeping your agreements. Understandable. So if you've gone through that, we're not trying to belittle it at all, but saying that those betrayals do have a different reference point of scale, how big and small they are, but they all add up. And for some people, a betrayal of that level, that could be like cheating on somebody, may not be that impactful because they don't have that attachment or care about the partnership. That's their choice. But for most people, it's an important one. So you've got to know for yourself, what are things that you won't allow in your relationship? And I want to say it carefully how I say that. But basically, that betrayals of a certain level just simply don't work for you. So, keyword essentially before, communicate ahead of time. Like when you meet somebody first time, you start to date them, it's good to roll out at some point what it is that's important to you that you really want to have in place that you don't want violated. So you know that you have trust there, that you have rapport, that you have intimacy, you have space, you have understanding, that those won't be betrayals in that area. It's something simple to ask ahead of time.
It is one of those simple but hard things.
Yeah, right.
So when you talk about, we use the area of monogamy. So really talk about, does that mean you've had some friends of the opposite sex before you met each other? You might still be talking to them as total friends, nothing more. But does that feel like a betrayal to you? Is that something that you can't tolerate? You need to have a conversation with the other person about that, because it might be they've been friends for 50 years and there's really never been anything, or there was and now there isn't anymore. And they really don't want to get rid of this friend. And it would be really a lot to ask of them. And is it part of your insecurity? Or is this just really, you can't abide by it, or it's happened to you before and it was bad? And what are the different levels? Could they have a telephone conversation? Could they have lunch together? And you need to decide where your tolerance level is and make sure your security's intact, that you're not asking something to just because you're insecure. But this is really your way of thinking of monogamy, is you just don't have any conversations with anybody that's the opposite sex without me, or that you couldn't have in front of me. That was the big rule I've always had. You could talk about anything you want, as long as it's something you would talk about them with in front of me. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
So you need to get your gauge and then tell them, this is my gauge, out loud, kind of scary, but do it anyway. And then find out what their gauge is, because their gauge could be like completely different than yours. They could even be more intense than yours. And you need to know this, because everybody's like, well, monogamy, everybody knows what that means, but everybody doesn't know what it means. So you need to define it for you and then define it for them. Just this tiny thing, when you mention that, it could be a phone call from some high school person that you knew 50 years ago, and somebody could get all upset about it.
It is. The challenge is because there's so many variables, and to not know what comes in the picture. So having certain simple things in place, like saying, trust goes both ways, and having that intimacy and that vulnerability, meaning that if you tell each other the whole truth every single moment, even saying that, somebody out of the blue from Facebook reached out to me, I haven't seen in 20 years, but I used to have a great thing with them back in the day, but I don't do it now. That simpler communication could save your relationship, because the other person doesn't have to go, I wonder why, should I be worried? All this stuff. They don't have to go through that thing because you told them the truth. So yeah, what you said is so important, is having that trust built on communication, understanding, and vulnerability is key for any relationship, frankly.
And I kept toying with, does this feel like a betrayal? But it does to widowed people. When we have somebody in our life and they say they're going to be here at a certain time, not only does it feel like they're not keeping their word, we think they're dead because we had somebody die on us.
Yeah.
It is an extra sensitivity. We work on it. We try our hardest, especially if somebody lost their special person in a car accident or a motorcycle accident. It's the PTSD. We can only get rid of so much of it. So when we say, this is really important to me, that if you're going to be late, I have no trouble with you being late. You just need to figure out a way to let me know. I got like a 10, 15 minute window before it's going to be hard on my blood pressure. And you don't want that. So could you promise to your best ability, unless you really are crashed on the freeway, that you're going to let me know if for some reason you're running more than 10 or 15 minutes late? And it's been an interesting conversation for people to have who make the same face you. Oh, I never thought about it that way.
Right.
Because you don't think about it that way.
And if it's somebody who is laissez-faire, so we say, with time, who goes up to someone who's gone through the experience of being widowed, the opportunity for an extreme difference of experience is so clear. So thank you for saying that, because I'm realizing for myself, and I was in a relationship with a woman a long time ago, but that one never came up. But to understand that piece going in, anybody who's watching this who may be dating somebody who's been widowed, it may change the way they relate, because it's so key how it makes total sense why you would have that default behavior response because of what happened. So yeah, that's a big one to keep your agreements on, just for the sake of sanity. It
really is. And isn't it nice we care about you so much that we want to know that you're not dead on the freeway?
Yeah, that's nice.
It does come down to that for sure.
Wow.
And any of that, whatever little weird idiosyncrasies we have from when we grew up or from the past relationships, we can do a lot of work on ourselves. That's really important. But once you get in a relationship shit comes up. It just is gonna. And when it comes up, you're like, oh, I have this thing. And I thought I'd worked it out. I forgot about it, but I have this thing. And I really need you to be part of this thing. What do you think about it? I mean, everybody's got them, right? For something.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a that was a big one, because it is such a truism, especially for those of us who've been around for more than 25, 30 years. We've accumulated a lot of history and experience in relationships, whether it is through somebody passing away or just going through divorce or just bad experiences, that we may have baggage that we don't even recognize that we're carrying. Move into a relationship with somebody new, and 3 months in, suddenly those suitcases of stuff rear their ugly heads behind us, and we're like, what? I didn't know this was coming up. So being in the integrity, being in the moment, saying, I'm just realizing as we're having this connection, this conversation, I forgot what this happened for me when I was 20 years ago, but I want to let you know now so it doesn't impact our relationship going forward, because that's sort of hiding that stuff from people. That's a betrayal too. If you have stuff coming up for yourself where your old patterns rear their ugly heads and they're getting in the way of your ability to relate and connect with somebody, and you don't tell them about it, you don't communicate with them about it, they're going to think it's them, first of all. But secondly, it's a wedge between you. And that's what betrayals are. They're a wedge between you and somebody else. So notice those things when they happen.
And you can see how being proactive about it and being brave in mentioning it, that it doesn't give the opportunity to feel like somebody's betraying you because they're doing this thing that was a betrayal before.
Right.
Not the death, but the not being honoring about telling you that they're going to be late. That if they don't know that ahead of time and they don't do it, then it feels like, well, they don't care about me and they don't understand me. And everybody knows you're supposed to call if you're going to be late. No, sadly, not everybody thinks that that's the highest priority. And if they're just going to be 10 minutes late, they don't think that's a big thing unless you tell them it's a big thing. And it'll feel like a betrayal if you don't do it.
Yep. Speaking of commitments and agreements, we have to do a commercial break in a minute to keep agreeing with our sponsors. So you want to do a quick wrap up for the sections before we move on?
You don't want to annoy the sponsor.
No.
Because we love our newstreamingnetwork.com that puts out our episodes and our podcasts. But if at all, you're like, I never thought about it this way, or wow, it's happened to me and I didn't know how to work around it, Barry and I'd be happy to help you with that, because we've had it happen to us and we've helped people through it. So if you would like to speak to me, the best way to find me is through my website, which is www.theperfectcatch.com. Scroll to the middle of the page and you'll see a questionnaire of what's holding you back from love. 8 brief questions. sends you to the link of my online calendar. You can schedule a complimentary conversation with me and we'll chat about this. You can also send me an email at christine@theperfectcatch.com. And how would people reach you, Barry?
You can also reach me the same way to my site. And yes, either one of us can definitely be of service to you, clearly.
Yeah.
So you go to my site, my site is my name, barryselby.com. And if you go to the button at the top of the homepage, which is Let's Chat, that button takes you to my calendar and also to a questionnaire I have for you, for questions that basically gets to the root of what's going on. And so when we talk, I'll know what's happening for you before we start, so we don't waste any time with preamble. We dive straight in. So once you do that, you'll get an email with a link to a Zoom call. We'll have a 20-minute conversation, seeing where you are, if I can help you with anything that's going on, and we go from there. If you want to send me an email, send me one at barry@barryselby.com, and we'll tell you about the rest of our stuff at the end of the show.
So we're excited to have you hear about our new streamingnetwork.com, the wonderful people that produce our show. And we'll be right back with Let's Talk Dating with Christine and Barry, talking about how the small betrayals add up.
See you in a moment.
Hi, and welcome back to Let's Talk Dating with Christine and Barry. And today we're talking about how the small betrayals can really add up, because it's like having a little small crack in the cement of your house. You know, it's not so bad, but water can come in and weeds can come in, and it does undermine the foundation of your house. And you really need the foundation of your relationship. First, your foundation of yourself, and then in important relationships, stay firm and solid. So causing fissures, causing breaks is really important to try to avoid. And if you can't avoid it, then to notice, oh my gosh, this happened. And then how do you repair it and get so that you don't make that same fissure again? Because I think most of the time we don't intend to cause this. It's a pretty big word, betrayal. We really don't mean to cause it. And it's often because we didn't understand, or we didn't remember, or we just weren't thinking, or the other person really wasn't clear about it. And it's really even the tiniest little prick can feel hurtful. And then if you don't feel like we're going to talk about apology in a second. If you don't feel like somebody's really gone, oh my gosh, let me do something about that, it's going to get infected. Even this tiny little scratch can get infected. And then if something else happens or the same thing keeps happening, the infection can take over your whole body.
Hence why small betrayals add up.
They do add up to be something really big.
Yeah, but I'll speak to something you mentioned. You talked about at the beginning of the show, and I'm going to bring it in here, is if you have made those mistakes, if you have made betrayals, how do you clean up the mess? How do you reset? How do you restore? How do you rebuild trust? One of the things about trust, and this is something that comes from betrayal, is that the only way to rebuild trust is to start from scratch again. You can't just say, well, I made a mistake in the past, from now on we're just going to resume as if nothing happened. No, because something already happened. So the only way to rebuild trust is to build, like we talked about earlier with agreements, is to start with the building blocks in front of you. So that's one of the things. The second piece we'll speak to, which is forgiveness, which we're going to talk about a lot more. And we've done whole shows on forgiveness before. But the simple thing about forgiveness that I talk about personally in my work is that forgiveness is nothing to do with anybody else. Because the betrayal you've done with somebody else was something inside of you that did that. So the forgiveness has to be something you do inside of yourself as well. Now, other people may think, well, you've got to forgive them for them betraying you. It's like, the truth is, they betrayed you. That's their issue. They're upset. Yes, they need to clean it up. But the truth is, you're judging them about betraying you from inside of you. Mm-hmm. So the forgiveness is about the judgment, not about the betrayal. And I have a whole workbook you can send you if you want to do the process yourself. I learned from my own grad school program. But the truth is, the forgiveness, it is an inside job. And forgiveness is I'll say lubricant is not necessarily the right word, not in this conversation. We'll get into sex again. but forgiveness is the vehicle to reduce and eliminate past betrayals and those trust issues.
Mm-hmm. So, wow, that is such a, I thought, oh, this is so perfect for the rest of our conversation, because are you prepared to forgive? What do you
Mhm.
need to do to forgive? What do you need to do inside of you? What do you need to do with them? What do they need to do and say? Because carrying around anger forever is the worst thing. Oprah said it was like drinking poison and expecting it to kill the other person. No,
Yeah.
it will be really hard on you. So first, can you figure out a way that you could forgive? Not forget, forgive. Move past it. Whether it is you move past it without the person, you need to have them go away, or you can move past it and stay with them. So the thing that I've been working with a lot of clients with is figure out what you need them to do and what you need them to say. And it often falls into the categories of they need to hear really clearly what was upsetting you. They need to hear the words so they can say the words back. Wow, this is how I betrayed you. I did this thing. Whether or not they knew it or understood it is not important at the moment. They need to acknowledge that was a big hurt, and I am really sorry I did that. I am
Mhm.
so sorry. I feel awful. It's a terrible thing that I did to you, because it was. If it feels terrible to you, they need to acknowledge it felt terrible to you. And wow. And I would never have done that. And I am even more mortified that I did this because I care about you so much. They show you they really weren't doing something on purpose. And then what are they going to do differently next time? Do we
That's
need to have
yes.
a more clear agreement? Do I need to do something inside of me? Do I need to make sure that I do this thing differently next time? They need to say they're sorry,
Mhm.
acknowledge what it was that they didn't do, and then say, this is what I'm going to do next time. Because I can't stay with somebody who isn't going to say, I'm going to do something different next time.
Yeah.
That would be impossible for me. And I don't want to ever get to the place where I wouldn't say, this is what I would do differently next time, because it really upset you and hurt you. And you can't get it. None of that time is that you can say that wasn't my intention, even though most of the time it wasn't. Most of the time, people didn't mean to do the thing they did, certainly to have the impact. But that is not part of that first part of the conversation at all. They keep wanting to, but yeah. No, I will teach you how to not do the yeah, but until way later. Because once the person who felt betrayed has calmed down and feels apologized to and has acknowledged, and then you say, and this is how I'm never going to do it again, you can then, maybe not right then, but they might be available to say, boy, I would never have done that on purpose. But there's no room for that before.
Right.
No room for the I never intended. I'm a really good person. There's no room there. There's too much Mount Vesuvius going off inside of them when somebody feels betrayed, even for small ones. But we don't always say, which would be really helpful when something small happens. Gosh, would you not do that again? That was just really annoying. Wouldn't that
Yeah.
be nice if people just did that and went, oh yeah, fine, I'm okay with that. No, we wait until it's turned.
Change the planet if we did. Everyone did that. But it's true.
Wouldn't it be nice? We should teach everybody this.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we definitely should. But the thing is, it's true because actions speak louder than words. You may say you're going to do something, but you don't do it. You do something different. That's going to become more obvious. And it is about proven action changes, not just saying you'll do something different, but do something different. And that's the thing is so important. And yes, ownership of your errant act, so to speak, or ownership of your mistaken behaviors that you never wanted to do, but you did anyway. Well, the thing is, sometimes our habits speak more powerfully than our intentions also. So to recognize that sometimes our best intentions are when we're at the highest level, but we don't live there all the time. So our lower base instincts take over and we do something, in quotes, stupid. So recognizing the fact that we don't always make the best choices for ourselves or other people, it's important to recognize, first of all, that we're not perfect. But also, it's okay to be humble and to own up to our mistakes, our mischoices, our errant behavior, so that we can start rebuilding from scratch again.
Mm-hmm.
And it is, again, the trust is a cumulative buildup. It's not an instant fix. And it is about proving that you've changed rather than just saying you've changed.
Yeah. Oh, that human behavior gets in our face all the time.
Wonder why.
And so what really I've encouraged people in my personal life and in my professional life, when you now are faced with, oh, there's this thing coming up again, and go, just checking. I'm going to do it this way, right? just to make sure, because it's a new habit. If
Yeah.
we're forming a new habit, it's kind of nice to just check in and have some grace about, yep, thanks for checking in. Like, oh, but they should remember I told them it was a great big thing. Well, they're getting it. It's a big thing because they're checking with you and making sure they want to make sure they're doing it absolutely the right way this time. I think it's a very honorable thing to do. And I tell the other person to get over themselves, that they can't just say, yeah, thanks for checking in. And I really appreciate you really wanting to do this the right way next time. I think it's a
Yeah.
lovely adult way to be, instead of acting like a 12-year-old.
The thing about it is, it is, I mean, we should stop talking kindergarten almost, because it's such a simple life skill to learn. And when you do, it is so much more graceful and easy to do. But the thing is, a lot of us don't learn this until we're in our 40s and 50s. So we've got a lot of old history to clean up first. And so it is about going back and making the past clean and doing some work to clean that whole thing up too. But once you learn to live this way, and I've been doing better on and on, because I'm still, I mean, even at this age, I'm still making mistakes and other things too, just because part of the human experience is so much fun, isn't it? But the recognition that we can course correct at any point, and we can clean up our act, so to speak, and become much better in our honesty and integrity, is, I guess, a gift of being human too, because it isn't, again, one and done. You made the mistake and you screw the rest of your life. You know, one of the things you said about betrayal earlier, and also about being widowed, is that I know there are many people who are widowed out there who feel betrayed by their loved one who passed away, because there was some agreement in their head, they had not even said actually out loud, that their partner would never leave them. And when the partner unexpectedly, whatever happens, passes away, that challenge can be, I mean, frankly, if you're not getting therapy or getting support from somebody to work through that, you might want to look at that, because it's such an important gift to give yourself to make peace with that.
Yeah, suicide's really one of the hardest that I've worked with people, because it wasn't my experience, but I've certainly talked to people that
Yeah.
feels like the ultimate betrayal. It's really hard. So thinking about, we're all human beings having a human experience. And I heard a song recently about, I expect to learn lessons until the day I die. So as you said, we're both still like, yeah, I caught myself. Oh yeah, I did that thing. Oh yeah, I forgot. Oh, I'm going to call myself out and apologize and hope that the other person has some grace about them, as I have tried to have with myself and them, to go, yeah, I got it. Thanks for calling yourself out and saying it. You know, I really appreciate it. And to not do it over and over and over and over and over. That's a really thing that you're like, what do you need to do to stop doing this thing? Like I told you, my friend Cheryl, who was always late, she was just never not going to be late. So I made it so that I didn't care that she was late. I set it up completely that it was fine. So that never felt like a problem. But there's Miss Gigi, that you need to make sure that you have an agreement that, is it still okay that I do this thing?
Right.
Can I do this thing this way? Would that be okay if I do it this way? You can never have it still be under the heading of betrayal. Your relationship will not survive.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, it's amazing what, I says nicely, it's amazing what people put up with. Mm-hmm. You know, I've seen people who, and this is a challenge, being a guide and facilitator, and seeing people out there who don't seek help, but they still go through this nightmare of being betrayed and being basically abused on some level, because a betrayal is a form of abuse. I just wish for them they would seek guidance and support. Yes, it'd be nice if they work with me, but also with somebody, because that constant choice point, because some people have been trained that way. Mm-hmm. There is in families where their parents never kept agreements with them, or they said betraying them too. So they were raised in a culture where they didn't know what to trust. And so when they're adults, they're dating people who repeat the same behavior with them. That's a pattern that's true for everybody in every sort of patterns, but this one in particular, they may never have peace of mind and calmness to know they can trust anybody, because they have this betrayal as their touchstone almost, that they don't have a choice point. So to find a way through to navigate so you can find yourself to wholeness, so you don't betray yourself first, always self first, will change every relationship around you. But it does take willingness to look at yourself in the mirror cleanly.
So back to the very beginning of our talk, that if you are resonating with this, that you have not kept agreements with yourself, that you seem to have people around you that aren't keeping agreements to you, and it feels like you're betraying yourself on your own, and certainly having these people in your life, and that you're having people in your life that aren't keeping their agreements to you, Barry and I'd be happy to talk to you about that, because
Yes.
we got to tell you that living without that happening very much of the time is a much better way to live. Barry and I
Agreed.
are here to tell you.
Yep.
And what to do when it does happen occasionally, but only occasionally, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, wow, I would love to talk to you about this. It's such a core thing that's fixable. There's nothing permanent about this. There really is a fix.
Right.
So I'd love to invite you to go to my website, which is theperfectcatch.com. And I named it that because you're going to learn how to be the perfect catch, and then you'll be attracted and attracting the perfect catch. So go to my website, and at the very top, I invite you to download my free book. It was 10 years of a dating advice column that my wonderful editor put together and said, you should have a book. So you just click on it and you can have my book. I'd also like you to join my mailing list. I started my class for women, the Transform Your Dating Life, and we're just 1 week in. So if you'd like to join, there's still time. Then click on that on my website. You can also join the mailing list. So every week you get this podcast in your mailbox. You can watch Barry and I talk about whatever the subject was that past week. I'd like to invite you also to go to the bottom of my website, which is all my social media icons of Facebook and LinkedIn and Pinterest and YouTube and Instagram and Twitter. And if you go to the YouTube, you'll see over 270 episodes of Barry and I. You can watch us talk about all sorts of interesting subjects. And then you can also send me an email at Christine@theperfectcatch.com. And Barry, tell people how to reach you.
So again, as I said, at the halfway point, you can go to my website to find out more about me. So my site is barryselby.com. At the top of the screen is the button you can click on to get on my calendar, and we fill out the questionnaire, and we can have a talk, as I mentioned before. At the bottom of the screen on my homepage is we can jump into my email list, which is basically where I send out a replay of this show every week. That's what I'm working on, new offers, new invitations. And I'm building out my new Heart Reboot Blueprint. I just remember what it's called, that I'm now launching in June. So if you want to check out more about that, reach out to me again. Drop me an email at barry@barryselby.com, or just join my email list at the bottom of the homepage to do that. In the middle of the homepage on my site is the first of my 2 assessments, the call quizzes. The first one, which is you go to barryselby.com/quiz, is my relationship, excuse me, relationship readiness assessment. It basically is, are you ready for a relationship? Simple, right? Maybe not so much. Do the quiz and find out. You'll get an email from me which explains where you are on the not ready to ready scale, so to speak. And if you want to go even deeper than that, there's a second assessment that you have to go to the link. You can't go it through my site, but you go to barryselby.com/self-quiz is a self-relationship assessment. And basically, that's a much deeper reflection because I'm all about the self. If you look at that, you'll go through 7 sections that really look at your own relationship with yourself. And if you do the assessment, you'll get a whole downloadable PDF you can look at that has tons of guidance, tips, steps, keys you can work on, things that give you a good launch pad to move forward, and lots of invitations to reach out to me for more support. Also on my site, if you go to the book page on my site, is where my book's selling. In fact, you can see my book right there. If you're watching the video, you can see my book right there on the shelf behind me. But if you go to my book page, which is barryselby.com/book, or through the navigation, you can actually listen to 2 very professional sounding voices do a review of my book. It's actually AI generated, but it is that way intentionally, but it is a review of my book by 2 astute, wise, and familiar voices that have read my book, it seems like. And you get you can just listen for 12, 13 minutes and get a good overview of my book. And if you like it, at the bottom of that page are links to buy my book on Amazon, or you can get the ebook directly from my site as well. That's my site. And if you want to follow me on social media, it's on all the platforms. I'm under Barry Selby, except for 2. You find me under Barry Selby on Facebook, on LinkedIn, Pinterest, Blue Sky, and YouTube, where on YouTube, all of the shows that we've done together, I've got up on there as well on my YouTube channel, plus another 1,000+ videos up there as well. Some new shorts. I've been doing some new 2-3 minute talks on social media, which I put on YouTube as well, so you can find those as well. And if you want to find me on Instagram or Threads, it's the real Barry Selby. And again, you can drop an email to me at barry@barryselby.com if you want to reach out to me for other questions, thoughts, direct information, etc.
Perfect. And I realized I said it at the break, but I'm not sure I said it now, that you can also have a complimentary conversation with me if you scroll to the middle of my website. It's a What's Holding You Back from Love questionnaire. There's 8 questions of where you are now and where you'd like to be, and they assess where you are on the readiness scale. And then you'll have access to my online calendar, and we can either talk on the phone or on Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
So Barry and I are here every week at 1 o'clock Pacific and 4 o'clock Eastern and all the times in between. And you can watch us live and ask us questions. We'd be happy to answer them live. And then if you want to watch us on repeat on your phone or on your TV, you can watch us on Roku or on YouTube. But if you want to take us with you, how would they do that?
Well, our show has now been put up on the major podcast platforms. So if you want to listen to our dulcet voices, even if you can't see our smiling faces, if you listen to if you listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, wherever you listen to podcasts, look for Let's Talk Dating show with Christine and Barry. You'll find us out there. You can listen to all our shows, all 270, 280 or so we have now. So a lot of shows you can binge listen when you're out driving or shopping where you can't watch a screen, because frankly, you can nice to look at people around you. But if you listen to the show that way, you can definitely get good tips, guidance, support, and it may inspire you to find your next date.
And we'll be back next week with our dulcet voices. I just love that. A new show, Let's Talk Dating, with an interesting subject about your dating and relationships. I hope you'll join us.
We'll see you next week. Take care of yourselves.
Bye for now.
Bye.